Pen machining is basically finished. Has a little bit left to do. I wanted to finish it up on Friday, but just ran out of time because everything takes more time than I always assume it's going to take. But we're still a little bit of ahead of schedule, so that's nice. I can already work on the hand finishing while the machine just catches up, and then we can take it from there. One thing I've also changed with these vlogs is the delay between when I'm recording them and when I'm releasing them is going to be a lot shorter now. I was rolling with like a week of basically banked footage, but it's got really confusing to edit because I always had to remember what I was doing a week past, and then I'd be working a week ahead and I was making notes, and yeah, it's a lot easier to trim that down. So at most it'll only be a delay of maybe like a day or two. It just makes it easier for everybody, and you get a more timely vlog. So anyways, let's get into the machining. So this is the bolt action. Those are the sliders, and what I'm screwing in are the thumb studs. The holes in the sliders are drilled and then thread milled, so I use some master thumb studs to make sure I'm making fairly consistent parts. I want things to be, consistent batch to batch. I cut them in runs of 4, but this time I just had a couple extra floating around, so I just ran a half station for this last cycle. Obviously, I filmed the last cycle because, well, sometimes I forget that I do this filming thing. So, anyways, moving on. Just parted off a thumb stud, which is there. At least I hope that's it, because if it fell in the chip bin, it may as well fall into the other side of the universe. It's impossible to find it in there. But here's all the test parts, just dialing it in. I changed all the threading tools in the lathe. That's why I'm dialing the parts in. And by I mean dialing them in, I touch the tools off, do a piece of work. I do a test cut to make sure they're on point. But the tolerance on these particular threads for this part is a hair width, like a thou too big, and they lock up, a thou too small, and they fit like garbage. So fairly tight, and it's easy just to dial them in and get them perfect, bake that into the code, and then just run a bushel of them. So that's what we're doing right now. So yeah, we have one good one now, and now the lathe should just crank out the remainder, which is lovely. I know it's dependable in that regard. Once I have it dialed, it's good to make them for eternity. They then go into this fixture, which is the bolt sliders. They thread in to the back of or to the pins like this. And then what I'm going to do is there's a dot on this side. That's actually just for final assembly. It helps me know which way this pin goes. It's the same either way, but I like being able to maintain consistency. It goes into this fixture, and if I have no depth perception, it's impossible to do. And it goes in there, and then there's a little pocket here that captures the thumb stud, and that way this can't spin. So when the tool, there's a little ball mill that's going to come next, and it's going to cut a slot on the back side of all these sliders. And that gives the air someplace to go past the bolt action when it's in the pen. So you get a nice crisp action. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. This little slot is the air groove, and its only function is to let air get past the slider pin in the pen. When the pen is extended, it doesn't really matter because it's done so slowly, but when it's retracted, it's done under spring power, and it moves pretty quickly. And that little slider traps air between it and the end cap, and the action isn't crisp. It kind of slows down as the air gets trapped and then slowly bleeds past. So by putting a little groove in there, it just keeps the action crisp. I mean, it feels kind of cool without it, but I just prefer the crisp feeling, so I put a little slider in there. I'm also super pleased with the finishes of these parts. These are all directly off machine, and yeah, very, very happy with how the finishes come out. On the end of the threading of the thumb stud, actually on all my threads, I put a Higby Start. Basically, it just clips the sharp point of the thread off, and if you look really closely at the end of the thread, you'll see it's flat as it leads into the thread pitch. Kind of like a garden hose. Your garden hose is a great example of it in giant form. Here's a better shot. You can see that last thread, or the very top thread, is flat, and then it slowly ramps up to full size, taking off that sharp edge. Just makes things fit up well. This is when the Higby is not adjusted well. Once again, probably really hard to see on camera, but this is where my parting tool wasn't quite set up right, and you get just kind of a mangled end. Mangled. It's very tiny. It's kind of hard to see, but it just all leads to things going together well. And with a thumb stud, that's something you might be taking in and out a bunch. And with a 40 TPI thread, it's nice to have a blunt start. It just makes things go together well. And it doesn't take that much extra work once it's dialed in, but it's kind of like one of those little subtle things that just show that, oh, someone cares about this part. Here's a fun part where I ruin 4 end caps in a single sitting. That's one of the advantages of cutting multiples, is you get multiple good parts out of each run, or you get multiple bad parts out of each run in the negative sense. So in this sense, I have ways, I compensate that end mill to get that pocket fit up perfectly. I changed the end mill to a brand new one and didn't change my compensation. So essentially these all cut oversized by just the littlest bit. And the littlest bit matters in this sense because I want the pocket clips to pop in there with a light press fit, and the screw should only hold it in place. It doesn't like control any of the alignment. So everything else fit up here. I checked the threads because that's the one thing I usually have to check. I haven't noticed that the pockets are oversized yet. So I'll check the first one, I'll check the end one. That usually means the other two are gonna work out all right. But when I went to check the pocket clip fit up, I noticed it was just a little bit too sloppy. Checking with a loop just to make sure the chamfers and everything are all pretty and the alignment looks pretty, the finishes look nice. But I want that fit up there to be nice. And these would almost pass. Like these would work. I would give these to friends and family. But for a production unit, we'll garbage them. We'll start new. I was gonna actually update the code here, but Fusion decided to update on me. So it's always updating. It's great code. I love this. I love this program, but sometimes it's frustrating. Anyways, I hand edited it, which I decided to film because I don't know. I thought it might be spectacular if I messed up, but it turns out I didn't. I took just one of the spring passes off. Fit up came up perfectly, so I machined the rest of the pen end caps, and yeah, worked out well. I tested it this time just on 2 instead of running 4 at a time. Yeah, 2 worked much better, which is cool because I just ran the same code, so you get this side view of how the thread milling happens without, a bunch of titanium being in the way. So you can see little itty bitty threading tool goes down and slowly spirals up. I don't know, kind of interesting. I thought it was cool. And with the proper pocket clips cut to size, I could put the pen pocket clips in place and flick them with my finger. They're held tightly. It's kind of my little simple test. If they go ding, then I know the fit up as well. So very happy with that. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.